Here we have our assembled materials. I have this actually is a cutting board that I used for printing. It's a nice smooth surface. You can use piece of glass, plexiglass, anything that's smooth that you don't care much about. And here's my palette, and I've just put some colors on here. It's a little bit scattered with the colors because I'm actually using some colors that I've used in painting, and I put in the freezer to save, and now I've put them out on my palette. So that's my palette that I'm going to use: gold acrylic, white, green, red, yellow, blue, sienna. They're all acrylic paints. I've got a few brushes here and a cup of water. Here is my fabric. It is muslin that I purchased at a fabric store. You can use an old sheet or any kind of fabric remnants that you have. Just cut them up into small pieces. White is good because it records all the colors, but you can also use printed fabric and get some really interesting effects. I think cotton works the best. I've used polyester blends. It doesn't seem to be quite as receptive to the colors as cotton. Okay, I'm ready to start fabric printing now. I have my squares of muslin. I have a couple squares of muslin that I have cut, and I have moistened some of these, and then I also have some dry squares. You'll discover that the wet fabric reacts differently than the dry fabric. So I've got my colors laid out here. I have some beautiful acrylic colors, yellow, red, blue, green, and white. And this is my board. This is just a smooth surface, an old breadboard that I use for printing. It works very well. So I'm going to start putting my colors down. I don't have any idea as to what theme I'm going to be using for the squares. The squares usually will take a couple printings anyway, but I think I'll just start out with these really pretty colors and see what happens. I have a blue and red here. That looks like it might be kind of a nice print. So I'm going to start. This is the wet fabric. Make sure that's smoothed down really well. And there's the pattern on that. And then I'll just set that aside and go on with another one. I'm going to introduce some white now. Maybe scratch into it a little bit for texture. You can also draw into these later. Again, another wet square. This process goes pretty quickly. Oh, there it is. Now that white came out quite. Just see the lines of where I scratched through are really recording on that square. I'm going to try one more moist square, then I'm going to go into the dry. Keep in mind that I am going to be probably cutting these up to use them in the end product, which will be the fabric collage. So these pieces of fabric will work just like any collage material. Oh, that's nice. Now I'm going to take some dry squares and just do 2 of those. Maybe a little more yellow here. Ooh, that came out pretty green. Now let's see how a dry square works. Not going to be quite as receptive, but the textures are very interesting with dry fabric. You could see that the brushwork is recorded on the fabric. Let's try one more. Oh, let's see. Let's do some blue. Maybe a little red in here. Of course, these squares will all have to dry. And then probably I'll do another printing with them. Ooh, that's nice. So you get some tonality with the dry fabric that you don't get with the wet. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares now that I have printed, and I'm going to let those dry. I'm continuing the printing process right now, and I'm very briefly just going to show you. This is a square that has been printed. This is the first printing of this. So what I'm going to do is reprint it to enrich the color patterns. So I'm inking up my area here that I'm going to be pressing the fabric down on. Laying the fabric on it. The more you print and reprint the fabric, the richer the color gets. So you can see that now some red is added to that square. I'm going to take another one just to show you again. This is dry. This has been printed once. And I'm going to do some yellow on here. Maybe add a little white. And I'm going to print again. You can see how rich the colors and configurations are getting. I'm just going to do one more for you. This time I'm going to add some blue. Maybe some lines going this way. Press this down on here now. And depending on the effects that I want, I'll just keep on printing the fabric till I get it just right, and then I'll be able to put my collage together from the fabric.